We're live, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to today's Candidate Forum. We'd like to start out the forum with an invocation by our own Wayne Marler. Wayne.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, leaders of our community, future leaders of our community. Let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Father, in the name of Jesus, we bow before you today. We are praying for the world, the nation, the state, and especially this community that we call home. As Father's Day approaches, let us be reminded of our founding fathers who wrote that we strive for a more perfect union. Grant our leaders the wisdom and discernment to make critical decisions that affect our lives in so many ways. May they seek your guidance in every choice they make, big and small. Lord, grant our leaders the humility to recognize that they serve for the well-being of this community. May they exemplify the spirit of servanthood leadership in all they do. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
All rise and face the flag. Render the proper salute for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge all of our elected officials. I see, would you all stand for a little round of applause? Paulette. Do we have any POA members here? Okay. Oh, glad to meet you, Dave. Thank you for being here. Any POA board members? Okay. Would the Governmental Affairs Committee, who sponsored this forum, please stand to be recognized? Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Greg Reddy, and I'll be the moderator for tonight's or this afternoon's forum. What we're doing is starting out with our the two candidates first, Kenneth Moore and Representative Lowell Russell. What will happen is we'll have a 5-minute introduction, and then we're going to open the floor to questions from the candidates. We're going to go in alphabetical order first. Mr. Moore will start, and Representative Russell will have second chance at the questions, and then we'll reverse the orders. So, Mr. Moore, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. My name is Kenneth Moore. I'm a candidate for District 21, House of Representatives. I am not a politician, so do not expect lots of syrupy comments. I'm a concerned citizen. I'm a 17-year resident here in Tellico Village and Loudoun County. I want to be your rep. I was a combat engineer in the USMC for 7 years. I still practice what I learned in the Marines. I earned a BS degree in industrial engineering at Bradley University. I earned an MBA from Roosevelt University. I then proceeded to work for 40+ years in engineering and production management. I worked my way up from a supervisor to a VP GM. I want to put the management skills that I've been taught to work for District 21. I've always been active in my community and my church. My wife Debbie and I have 3 children, 4 grandchildren. Thank God we are empty nesters right now. I don't want to list all the reasons that I should not be running for this representative spot. My conservative background is different than what is called conservative down here. I'm in the same age group as the two guys running for POTUS. I still work. I work part-time. As I said, I'm active in my community. I sing in 3 choirs. I'm a Sunday school teacher. I do 2 different Bible studies a week. I'm studying to become a deacon in the Riverview Missionary Baptist Church in Lenore City. I'm the vice president of the Tennessee Baptist Layman's Group. So with all those things going on in your life, Ken, why are you running? I have no animosity toward my opponent. I have become embarrassed when I see the Tennessee House on TV. I love my country. That is the primary reason that I am running. I think the Tennessee House is on a power trip. I think they believe they can do anything they want because they are the majority. I believe sincerely that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. When I'm put in, I will vote on issues that help all Tennesseans, not just the ones who voted for me, not just the ones who give me a nod and say, this is the barking orders, follow them, just fall in line. I'm running to give District 21 a choice. When you go into that ballot booth, there'll be no one looking over your shoulder. You'll be able to vote your conscience. And I want you to vote for the best man and not the best party. If I could just give you one anecdotal thought. I've gone through, and it's unfortunate that I don't have a running record. I don't have a bunch of votes. You're going to have to take my word that I have high character, and in talks that we'll have before November. But when I was growing up, I fought. I went to jail 2 times during the civil rights movement. I fought for what is being taken away one thing at a time by this Tennessee legislature. And the guy that they get from Florida, Texas, so they'll come up with something bad, and Tennessee will say, man, that's bad enough for us to vote for it too. So the one thing that I noticed in the voting record, and it's not a law yet, it's in committee. They want all civil rights put-asides for minorities removed. It's as if the things that happened to me when I was growing up in the Jim Crow South never happened. America is colorblind now, and all of a sudden we want everything to be fair. Fair for who? Fair for when it happened in the 60s, 70s, and 80s are fair for your children so that they can have all the benefits of life that some other folks don't have a chance for. When I saw that on committee, I said, Tennessee House is on such a trip that they'll pass that when it comes next year in the next session. So I'm here to say no. One voice in the wilderness. No, let's not do it that way. Here's a better way to go about it. I will seek out even-minded folk in the legislature and try to build a consensus, a fair consensus, as opposed to ram it down your throat. We got the power. We're going to do it no matter what. That is why I am running. I don't want my grandchildren to say, Grandpa, what were you doing down there in Tennessee when these folks did thus and thus and thus? I want to tell them I was standing tall, fighting for the common man, even though the common man is being duped. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Lowell Russell, and I currently serve as the 21st District State Representative, and I want to thank the Telco Village Government Affairs Committee for putting this on tonight. It's truly an honor to be asked to participate. I want to thank Ken for his service to our country and all the veterans for their service. We live in the land of the free because of those that serve. I truly believe that. I want to thank the 21st District for allowing me to serve you since 2018. It's been truly the highlight of my life, and I hope that I have made you proud during the past 6 years. I will continue to work and strive to live up to your expectations, and I want to say thank you to Paulette and David. I work alongside them a lot with the County Commission, and we got the best elected officials here in Monroe and also Loudoun County, whether it be at a county level or city level. But appreciate each and every one of y'all. I grew up just a little ways up the road in Blount County, and went to all elementary school and middle school up there. Then in 1990, we moved down here to Vonore, and I spent ninth grade through my senior year at Vonore High School and graduated there at Vonore High School, and then went to Roane State Community College for a criminal justice degree. And after that, I began a law enforcement career at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. We spent 3 years there, and then went to the Highway Patrol and spent 14 years when unfortunately that ended in a work-related accident when a tractor trailer ran over the patrol car I was in, and had to look for a new way to serve. And fortunately, I started going around the 21st District and asking what you was looking for in a state representative after the current state representative at that time, Jimmy Matlock, decided he wasn't going to seek re-election. And I thought, after talking with people and knocking on bunches of doors, that I could fulfill that. And like I said, I appreciate that opportunity. Back in 2017, it was the fall of 2017. I remember it like it's yesterday at Calhoun's when I made my announcement at the Cross County Patriots Group. I told them my platform was public safety, the economy, and small government. And each and every election since that year, I had always ran on the economy, public safety, and small government. I think those are three of the most important issues. I'm a member of First Baptist Church. Unlike Ken, I can't sing, so if we're having a competition about singing, I'm going to lose that one. So, but I will continue to sponsor bills that represent the beliefs in the 21st District. I encourage your input. I try to answer every single of the emails and reply to them myself. I've got one of the best administrative assistants in Nashville. Her name is TJ Sutton. Many of you all have corresponded with her office, and if you get a chance to send her a note of encouragement to send her something, because she appreciates hearing that back from y'all. But she works hard. She's probably the hardest working person in Nashville. But I will continue to work hard for you. And I encourage you, like I said, emails, phones, Facebook, whatever it takes. Let me know your thoughts on any important issues. So thank y'all.
Thank you both. What we'd like to do now is open up the floor for questions. If you have any questions, line up at the microphone. The way we're going to do it is we'll start with Mr. Moore first, and then Representative Russell, and then we'll switch the order. So feel free to interact and ask them any questions or comments. Okay, if there are none, what? That usually gets them up to the microphone.
How do you? Okay, now you can. I'm from Tellico Village, from the other one, not this one. I asked this question to the candidates that were running for state representative. Monty Fritz won that election, and I'm going to ask y'all the same thing. When I first moved here and went to the Capitol, it didn't take me long to notice that special interests were alive and well in the Capitol. And my question is, I guess I have to phrase it differently. Ken, what would you do to decrease the influence of special interest in this state so that more attention was paid to the people and not the people with money?
It's a very easy question. It's a very easy question to answer. I don't believe that lobbyists serve our nation. I believe that they serve themselves. I don't know how our country got bought like it did, but it will not come. I will not accept a dime from a lobbyist. I think that lobbyists should tell everybody who they gave the money to and exactly how much. And then I think the person who took it needs to sort of explain, I took these monies from this group. I will try not to help them, so when things come up, they might have to recuse themselves every now and then when they come up against somebody who gave them a lot of money. That's the way I stand on it. I haven't accepted a dime, and I never will.
Thank you. Lowell, I'll ask it a little differently for you, because I went to the Capitol before you were even in the legislature, okay? And I think you're aware of the influence of special interest and the lack of transparency and a lot of other things that we've discussed before. So what are you currently doing to mitigate the influence of special interest? And by the way, I consider Tellico Village a special interest. We have lobbyists. We have legislation we're pushing that's only going to benefit Tellico Village. So, Lowell, let us hear what you're saying about it.
It's a very good question. I also believe in transparency. In fact, we had an issue with the TCAP scores. A constituent from Tellico Village brought up that they couldn't find the TCAP scores, and we went in from my office to look for the same things, and we couldn't find them. So after about a week of looking for them, we got the Department of Education to send how we got them, and it was just a cluster. So I agree, we need more transparency. As far as special interest, I will meet with anybody on any topic, anywhere that I can possibly get to, whether it's in the district or the Nashville, and I'll talk to them. As far as taking money, I always let anybody know if they are giving me a donation, it does not affect my vote. I hope I proved that with House Bill 1116 last year. We had the village pushing a buy-in fee. And many people in the village had emailed me their thoughts on that, and talked to me on at the grocery stores and different places, and like I said earlier, sent me messages on Facebook. And every time I get something like that, I always screenshot it, and next time I'm in the office, I add it to a spreadsheet. As long as I can confirm you're a real person and not AI generated, I keep a tally of all these recommendations that you all send me. I don't do like a lot of people does, delete them and just go on and do what I want to. I make sure I listen to the voters, because you ultimately are the ones that put me here. So I've got to do what you want me to do, or I'm not going to be effective. And I tell people all the time that good representation is brought by good communication. That's communication from you to me and me to you. It's equally responsibility. So like I said, I will meet with anybody on any topic. I don't care if they're a lobbyist or individual. I hold all the communication I got important to everyone. But when I take money, I always make sure they know it does not affect a vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Deborah Stevenson. I'm always interested in, especially when I don't know someone really well, trying to figure out what makes them tick and what issues and items they kind of hold dear and near to their heart. I kind of like to know what, from each one of you, your party's platform, say for instance the Democrat platform, what do you find about it that enticed you to run as a Democrat or a Republican, and kind of give a brief synopsis about maybe some values and items that you held on to, that why you are running as a Democrat and why you run as a Republican. Because in this day and age, it's kind of like parties are kind of a nebulous thing right now, and I want to get to the bottom of the morals and the real things that make a person tick. And to me, that represents who you are. Thank you.
So earlier I mentioned my platform is public safety, the economy, and small government. And the Republican platform as a conservative to me is low taxes, Second Amendment, and the protection of life. I got the endorsement of Tennessee Right for Life yesterday and published that. But I truly believe that government should be at the very smallest with the minimum regulations. And I think if we're going to start taxing people, I think the first thing we need to do is start looking at ways to cut the budget. I just absolutely cannot stand the government does not cut their own budget when they expect people to pay more. As far as the Second Amendment, I truly believe that if we start taking guns away from people, you got several states that touch Tennessee. People can go to another state within 15 minutes in some locations and as little as an hour in other locations and buy whatever they want to buy, and that would leave Tennessee at more dangerous state because people can't protect themselves from whatever. And plus you got, on top of that, you've got 3D printers now. You can print these things at home. And so we've got issues with that. And as far as the right for life, I tell you, there is probably this biggest topic right now with the recent court decisions. But these babies, we talk about protecting the right of the mother, and I truly believe that. And Tennessee does protect the right of the mother, but we also got to protect the right for life of these babies too. So.
Thank you.
My values are very simple. I told you earlier what I learned in the Marine Corps about God and country is real. I still live it today. I still carry my life as if I was still in the Corps. I'm a Bible-thumping believer. There is no party out there that can beat me to my flag or can beat me to my God. So if it's in the Bible, believe it. That is how I live my life. It's not a joke. It's not for fun. It's real every day, and I live it. If you know me, you know how I live my life. If you've heard about me, you know how I live my life. I don't hide anything. I have lived. I was not a Bible-thumping believer in my 20s and 30s. I'm not the same man that I was before I found Jesus. So if you knew me then, and you know me now, you got the real deal.
I don't want to be confrontational and sound that way, but if you support the Democratic platform on abortion, how do you resolve those issues in your mind?
If my Jesus was in this world today, who would he be hanging out with? He would be hanging out with the homeless. He'd be hanging out with those that don't have a job. He would be hanging out with those that have lost their identity
How about
and might even kill themselves in a fit of distress. So Jesus would be for the downtrodden. And anything that you do to the downtrodden, it's as if you've done it to Jesus.
But he also mentioned that if you harm one of my little ones, it's as though you would have a millstone around your neck and be
Absolutely,
thrown
and you
into
better
the
go
bottom.
to the bottom of the earth.
Do you support that? Do you
Yeah.
support abortion?
I believe that a woman has the right to take care of anything that goes on in her body. You guys fight about rights. I want the right to send my kid to this school. I want my right for the kid not to read this and not to read that. Right. Well, what about the woman's right to do what she has to do with her body? So you think of rights one way when it's for you, but a different way when it's for the mother. I have no problem with a mother who has to go and get help.
But
And get help from the best place.
Do you agree that it should be like a newborn baby if they want to just let it die? Is that no?
Hypothetical.
Okay.
I told you straight up, if Jesus were here, he would be on the side of the downtrodden. He would be on the side of the ones that you want to put in jail. That's the only way I
Okay,
can tell
fair
you.
enough.
And I believe it.
All right. Thank you for your honesty.
Representative Russell, would you like to respond?
Just that I'm pro-life, and I think that Tennessee we had an issue with a trigger law that we put into effect in 2019, and we went back and amended it so it it better defines protection of life of the mother and protects if she was going to have a serious bodily organ failure, so the doctors can perform a couple of those procedures.
Okay, next question, please. Mr. Moore.
My name's Joan. I'm from Loudoun County. I was born and raised in Loudoun County. Went to Lenoir City Schools. After that, I went to the University of Tennessee and graduated and joined the United States Air Force, became an officer, served my country for 6 years and 7 months and 12 days.
Wow. And a wake up.
And because of that, I didn't start a family right away. I'd like to know what the candidates, how they feel about IVF. And if you do not know what that stands for, it means in vitro fertilization. It means that science today can help families like me have children. How do you feel about that?
100%. Useful has been used by a lot of folk who couldn't have kids to have kids.
My
It's a
daughter
good
just
thing.
graduated Brown University with I'm a little proud, biomedical engineering. She's going to go on and get her master's in mechanical engineering. And she is a product of IVF. So please, I ask you, I beg you, get educated on what some of these things are that you may not understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also agree with IVF, and I can't remember if it's 200,000 babies it produces or 2 million, but I was disappointed in the court ruling. It was either Georgia or Alabama, but I also agree in IVF. So.
Hi, I'm David Winters, and I'm one of the commissioners here in Monroe County. I just want a question, I guess, for both of you. The vouchers for schools. How do you feel about that? Because if the vouchers things pass, it's going to hurt our school system here in Monroe County. So I just like to hear your answers.
In 2019, I voted against the ESAs, which was the governor's education savings account, which is vouchers. And then in 2023, keep in mind that only affected 2 counties, Davidson and Shelby County. In 2023, I voted for it simply because it only affected Hamilton County, and it gave the largest pay increase in Tennessee's history, largest pay increase for teachers in Tennessee history, which will bring us for 40-something in the country up to in the top 10 for teacher pay, and they deserve every single dollar of that. This year, I didn't get a chance to even vote one time. They call it the Tennessee Education Freedom Scholarships. The district was, I would poll it, it would be anywhere from 56% to 63 to 65% against it. And if I had to vote for it then, I would have voted against the Education Freedom Scholarships, which was not a voucher, by the way. It was a scholarship separate from the money that goes to public schools. However, the issue is it has a good potential of becoming a voucher in the year two ahead, because at the very least, it was going to cost the state $144 million, and at the very most, one of the bills was just a little over $500 million. So.
I am a product of a public school system. Unfortunately, it was a separate but equal public school system. I had 3 or 4 folks' names in my books, and their scribbling and their love letters and all those things. However, I wouldn't trade one day in a integrated school with those days that I spent in a separate but equal school. You know what the difference was? The teachers loved me. They cared about me. They wanted nothing but the best for me. So I think that the public school system needs to be enhanced and grown and made better and not destroyed by the cut of 1,000 knives with the voucher system. I think a voucher system will eventually lead to the death of the public school system. That is my feeling on it. I haven't seen anything that would change that.
Hi, my name is James Stevenson. I live in Tellico Village. I'm a veteran of foreign wars. I'm an Agent Orange affected individual here, and the VA is dealing with issues with me right now. I'm really upset with the way the government runs the VA. It's like we're taking back seat to a lot of things in this country. So that's one question I have. The other question has to do with our unborn children. And I know it's going to probably fly in the face of some people here, but I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry and biology. I was a nuclear weapons engineer for 33 years. I'm a technical guy. I'm also a Christian. Number one, I'm a Christian, highest priority you can have. And I love the Bible, the Word of God. Jesus is the Word. He became flesh. All right? So when I read the Bible, I don't treat it as something out of a candy store, and I'll just take that piece and that piece and that piece. What does the Bible say about children? You know, we talked about the fact that you hurt a child, better have a lodestone thrown in the ocean. But let's go back to creation of the child. The Bible specifically says that God knew us before he formed us in the womb, and he knitted us in the womb. It's very specific. Our babies have their own DNA, they have their own fingerprints, the heartbeat within a few weeks. They're not part of the woman. They happen to be in her housing, but that baby is its own baby. And when you terminate the life of a child, in my opinion, you're murdering that baby, unless it's necessary for the life of the parent. All right, so as a Christian, I don't understand how somebody can say, well, I'm going to support abortion, I'm going to support choice. God gives us the choice to sin in our lives. But then we have laws in America to stop the abuse. Our laws are based on Judeo-Christian origins, and we have values that God, the Bible says God wrote them in our hearts. And we all know in our hearts that child is a human being. And to rip its arms and legs off and suck it out with a vacuum cleaner and abortion, hey, no, I'm just telling you the way it is.
Let's ask the question. And
So my question is, as a Christian, how can you support abortion?
I answered that.
Well, not to
I
the
answered
level.
that already.
No, well, let's go back and look at the, what
I'm
does
not, I'm
Holy
not
Scripture?
here to make you happy.
The Holy Scripture says. Okay, and
I
I'm
know what the
asking
Holy
you,
Scripture says.
well then, if he says that he created us in the womb, how do you going to rip it out of the womb and say that's okay? It's a woman's choice. How do you say that?
Because that woman is a human being as well.
Well, yeah, but is her life in jeopardy?
I didn't ask you that.
No,
said
I asked
she-
you that.
She is a human being as
But
well.
you're going to
with
support
all the
murder.
rights, with all the rights that are coming.
You're going
to
to support all murders of babies in the womb, is what you're saying.
I just don't agree with you, fella. I'm sorry.
okay,
Okay, well, we understand what
Your opinion
we understand.
and my opinion.
No, it's not
Okay,
an
let's-
opinion. It's based on Scripture, Holy Scripture.
okay. Now, first of all, would you like to answer the question regarding the VA?
I fully support the VA. Matter of fact, I read something where they were having some budget issues, and they were trying to make sure that they weren't trying to suck some money out of the VA. They should get 100, maybe even 110% of their budget, and it should be big enough to take care of all of our veterans. Don't skimp on the veterans.
Thank you, James, for your.
One moment.
Oh.
There's a lot of people outside listening, so could we hold the microphones closer because it's not picking up to be broadcast outside?
But thank you, James, for your service. I agree the VA's got issues. Most of that's going to be with the federal representatives and your U.S. senators. A lot of times we'll get requests to help an individual out. We'll check with their people first and see if we can. A lot of times we just simply have to work with the liaisons, either for Chuck Fleshman's office or Tim Burchett's office, because they sort of does it with the federal government. And Marsha Blackburn's office has been very, very helpful, and Bill Haggerty's has also. I'll never forget my friend Dan. He would call me all the time. I won't mention his last name, but he'd call me all the time. He'd try to drive all the way to Murfreesboro just to see a doctor. And it was so sad because it looks like we could do that right here in East Tennessee with any doctor that they want to see. They should be able to do that. And like I said, if I could control that any better, I would. But that federal government, we got sort of difficult to work with sometimes. I said earlier, I'm endorsed by Tennessee Right for Life. I'll continue to fight for the babies. And while also, like I said, we make sure we protect the mother's life, and to make sure that if she's going to have any kind of major organ damage or something, those doctors can perform those procedures. But that's where I stand on that.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Hello, I'm Barbara Nicholson. Thank you both for your service. Appreciate that and willingness to run. My question deals with the security of Tennesseans and the known entrance of a lot of unauthorized people coming into our country, into Tennessee, and knowing that we have some MS-13 gang members here in Loudoun County, or in Loudoun County, I'm sure in Monroe too. Would like to know what you all think we could do as Tennesseans, or what you can do in the legislature to try to see how we can protect us from future people coming into our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. And keep in mind that we've got to do everything we can do to deter people to come here. A lot of that is the federal government again, and it's shocking to see so many people come across the border. Fentanyl is probably public enemy number one, and I truly believe fentanyl is coming from Mexico across that border. But we passed several pieces of legislation, one increasing punishment for illegal immigrants who commit violent crimes. So if an illegal comes to the state of Tennessee and they commit a violent crime, they have to spend more time in jail. That's what we've done this past year. We also made it mandatory for law enforcement to report illegal immigrants who commit crimes in Tennessee to the federal government. And we passed a law actually a resolution so the governor can send the National Guard to the southern border to help Texas out down there. And Mr. Moore?
I saw that bill that you guys passed, that if Texas ever needs any help, you're there for them. That's another crazy idea and power gone mad. We're all border states. Here's what I'm an engineer. I spent my whole life solving problems. If the pundits on this side and the pundits on that side were to pull back and let common sense folk sit down, they can solve this issue. Every time they ask for enough money to do it right, you say, no, we're having too much fun vilifying you. Leave it the way it is. I truly believe the first thing you have to do is stop making immigrants a villain. Recognize, I got a shirt at home that I had made that says, I am an immigrant. I just didn't come from Norway. I'm an American. I'm a proud American. I think the answer is to have good people with good conscience. Think about them as people, and then develop a program to properly hold them where they need to be held. When they get into the country, actually help them as opposed to put them in jail. So don't ask me about immigrants if you're going to vilify them. If you can't talk about them as people, we can't have discussion. They're not criminal.
That's a key.
But they're not. They're looking for a better life, and what better place to find it than in the U.S. And if you guys got it and don't want to share it, then I'm not your guy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi, my name is Mercedes Wersing. I am a retired public school teacher, and I am an immigrant. And first of all, I want to tell you, Ken, I love you. Lo, I love you. You are our brothers. We are all God's children, one race with the same blood. And I've done a lot of community volunteer work, and also in Mexico with American and Mexican doctors. I am very knowledgeable about the drug cartel and what is happening in our country and in this world. Our older son is in the Air Force, and I'm very cognizant of my surrounding when I am at every airport. And I am very stunned what I am seeing in the Knoxville airport, in Dallas. And what I want to share with you is this. In February, when I took the Uber driver to the airport from our son and daughter-in-law's house so I could babysit our grandchildren, the Uber driver, Hispanic, born in Texas. His parents were born in Texas. He said to me, we talked politics for a half hour in the car. He said to me, I have to carry guns in my vehicle. And I said, why? He said, I am getting phone calls from migrants at the bus stop in San Antonio to take them to the airport in San Antonio. And I said, where are they coming from? He said, they are all men from Africa and China. I said, where are they going? He said, Tennessee and Kentucky. My concern is, I am an immigrant, and we grew up, by the way, from Cuba. My father went to law school with Fidel Castro. I know what communism is. I know what it's like to lose your Second Amendment. We lived next to the English embassy. Castro's soldiers would shoot at the English embassy from our dining room window. There's more I can tell you. The Second Amendment is so important. The 10 Commandments have been our North Star. We grew up as an immigrant. We knew we were guests in this country. We grew up never to bring shame to our family nor to this country. And people that come to this country should come based on merit, and family members will sponsor them. We're not living the time of the 60s. We are in an era right now where everybody has greed. They want to make money with the drugs and the drug cartel, but the human trafficking is my concern. I witnessed something in the Lenore City Park in December where we called the police. A young lady was being roughed up and was pushed. She did not speak English. I approached her. They left her. There were other citizens that witnessed a couple things. I don't want your grandchildren or my grandchildren to die from fentanyl. And our country right now is looking like Cuba and Venezuela. I speak with
Can we present
many
this in
immigrants.
a question?
My question is, what will you do with the fentanyl and the open borders?
You kind of faked me out when you started saying that you were an immigrant, and then you proceeded to tell some stories that are pretty frightening. Is there a person in this country that doesn't understand that fentanyl is bad? They got it on TV. They got commercials for it. So if it is bad, and if people are bringing it in, and our country, all of our law enforcement folk are unable to do anything with it, we've got to ask why. And it might be as simple as follow the money. So as a Tennessee House of Representative, all I can say is, if a bill comes to fortify our borders against fentanyl coming from anybody, we should go for it. Anybody, that's whether it's a country, a dictator, or a cartel. When the U.S. government got tired of the mafia, they took care of it. Obviously, the folks in power in Washington haven't got tired enough of fentanyl to get rid of it. That's my opinion. If I can do anything about it, I will. But I think it needs to get higher. And everybody is sort of like, okay, let's turn our back on anybody who brings fentanyl into this country. And you weed them out one by one. And they go to jail.
Mercedes, the difference here is you came here legally, and we appreciate you doing that. We are against those people that come here illegally. There's a way, a process, and every person that comes across that border should follow that process. And as long as I'm representing you, I'm going to continue to ban sanctuary cities. And we're going to push back against the federal refuge settlement program, which we did this past year. We're going to ensure illegal immigrants do not receive public benefits like we did last year. We're going to restrict employment of illegal immigrants and protect businesses like we did this last year. And we're going to close loopholes for illegal immigrants seeking driver's license and IDs in the state of Tennessee. That's what we believe in the state of Tennessee.
I'm Joan Mulliner, and I'm just going to say, why don't we enforce our borders with enough people to do what you want done, number one. And number two, if you think they're bringing in drugs and you're after them, why don't you look at the money? Who's buying it?
I tried to propose a bill to put a wall around Tennessee and make North Carolina pay for it, but I didn't. That's a joke. But I agree. We got to protect. Every state's a border state. That's why we passed these laws to deter people from coming here. And we can only do so much as a state because the federal government sends them here during the night. They land in Knoxville, Chattanooga. They bus them through here. But we do what we can. And like I said during the list of these things, we'll continue doing that. But if you see something, say something. We need to know about these illegals coming in Tennessee, and we can only do that. As far as following the money, I don't know exactly how you can do that, because you can get online 4 or 5 years ago and order this stuff from China with your credit card, and they'll ship fentanyl right to your house. So I don't know that we can look at people's bank accounts. But
Are you done with fentanyl?
I'm done with
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Okay, yes. Hi. I'm going to flip the conversation a little bit. My name's Kimberly Fike. I live here in Kahiti. I'm thrilled to be here, and I moved from Pennsylvania a year ago. My question is, are you aware of the healthcare performance score that Tennessee has? You are 46 out of 51 states. You are in the bottom. And there's specific indicators or quality measures, and also what is with that is deaths from preventable, and treatable causes. If you're not aware of it, can you put it on your agenda to really investigate?
If Ken Moore gets into the House, there will be a lot done, at least in terms of argument and fight and no on this issue. Tennessee legislature chose, because they didn't like the name that was on the health care. There was so much hatred for Obama that they said, we don't want any of your health care systems in the state of Tennessee. So there are Tennesseans that need.
These are specific measures that came from the Affordable Care Act
Okay.
that President Obama instilled in our delivery of care. They go with the codes, medical codes.
Okay.
So they're all traceable. So if you're a diabetic, some of the measures would be depending on how severe your blood sugar, your A1C is, how many times a year you're going to have your A1C done. Will you have a microalbumin in your urine checked, your eyes checked? Are you on the specific medication? All those indicators are measured, and they go out. And we're 46. I come from Pennsylvania where we were 10. It's a process issue in hospitals and in doctors' offices, more doctors' offices, but there are some, are people getting their colonoscopy at a specific age, 45, 50? But the preventable deaths, really, I don't think there's an excuse for that.
What we're going to have to do is, Mr. Moore, you can give a short answer, then we'll have to let
More
others-
health care, more and better health care.
Thank you, Kimberly. I didn't know that until within the last week. I found out about our ranking, and I will be glad to do what I can. I truly believe no matter what party, Republican or Democrat, we all want people to be healthy in Tennessee. It's just the way they look at it. Democrats want you to beat socialism, give health care to everybody for free. The Republicans want you to, I personally want the federal government to pass legislation to allow insurance companies to compete across state lines to draw down the cost of premiums so everybody can afford it. But that's where I am. I think that hopefully that answered your question.
All right. Our time's up for these candidates. Let's give them a hand. There's tables out if you want to continue the conversation with these particular gentlemen. What we're going to do is we're going to switch out and we're going to get in. So everybody with the questions, please keep your questions. We're going to have the new set of candidates come in. So hang tight and we'll switch out the candidates. Thank you all.
Everyone, please take your seats.
All right, everybody, we're going to resume. Thank you, everybody. Remember your questions. What we're going to do this time, because we have more candidates, is we appreciate your thoughts and all, but please, when you come up to the mic, be succinct and give a little bit of explanation or context to your question if it needs it, and then ask your question because, as you can see, we have more candidates here. What we're going to do is we're going to start, they're in alphabetical order. We're going to go down the table and give them 3 to 5 minutes to let them introduce themselves to you. You can either come up here or pass the mic, whichever you prefer. And he'll be timing for you.
Okay. If I come up here, all you can see is my head, so you see my stomach. My name is Tom Hatcher, and I am from Blount County. I was born and raised in Blount County and lived there 65 years. Grew up in the Wildwood, Porter area, went to high school at Porter. Went to East Tennessee State for a year and then had to come home. My dad had a family business. He had a stroke, so I had to leave college and come back home from him. I'm married, been married 46 plus years to my beautiful wife, Donna, who is here with us back here. So. And also I want to introduce Rick Shepard, who is my campaign manager, is with me today. I started my career out in law enforcement and worked there for 10 years. I have these allergies this week and they're about to kill me. But we started there and worked in the Sheriff's Department for 10 years. And while I was with the Sheriff's Department, I started out as a dispatcher and a jailer and worked that for about 7 months through my probationary period. Then went on as a patrolman and 2 years then was promoted to a investigator. And then in 1989, when Sheriff Barone was appointed sheriff, he asked me to run the narcotics office for him, and so I was the director of Blount Narcotics Office for almost 4 years. And during that time, I also served 5 years on the county commission. There was an opening in 1989 when a new judgeship was made in Blount County, and the commissioner was a lawyer that was in that seat, and I was appointed to fill his position in '89. And then after that, I ran in '90 and got elected, and so I've served 5 years as a county commissioner. And I have served 30 years as the circuit court clerk in Blount County, where I'm still serving today. On that, I was the chair of the legislative committee for the State Court Clerks Association and also for the County Officials Association. County Officials Association is the state court clerks, county clerks, the Register of Deeds, and trustees. So I served as the legislative chair for both of those groups, and it gave me an opportunity to go to Nashville and lobby on the Hill for bills that affected the judicial system and also the other 3 county offices in that. So I spent a little over 15 years lobbying for the Clerks Association and the County Officials Association, which gave me a lot of experience in Nashville. And I met a lot of people down there that I still know today in Nashville. I have an associate's degree in criminal justice. I went through UT and got a certified public administrator's degree. I have hundreds of hours of specialty training, of course, through the Sheriff's Department and through the Clerks Association. We have to have so many hours of continued education each year. So done that. My community involvement, I was with the Eagleton Little League for 18 years. Was part of Civitan when we built the special needs park in Townsend. American Heart Association, the Red Cross, St. Jude's, and United Way. I was a public service director for United Way for about 13 years and started a hamburger luncheon and raised, in the 13 years, we raised over $250,000 through that event. And then in 2014, my dad passed away. He had an Alzheimer's and had it for about 5.5 years. And after he passed away, I had a golf tournament to raise funds for my circuit court clerk re-election, and my wife and I decided to start our own charity, which Tom Hatcher Charity. Last year was our 10th year anniversary, and in 10 years we've been able to raise $1 million, and we've been able to give back over $800,000 to Blount County. The two main agencies have been Alzheimer's Tennessee and the Boys and Girls Club. And I think my time is about up. That's just a little bit about what I've done and my community involvement. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Okay, y'all responded. That's good. In the words of the immortal Charlie Daniels, ain't it great to be alive and be in Tennessee? Yeah. I'm John Pullias. I'm a native Tennessean. Not from East Tennessee originally. I was born in Nashville. Spent my early childhood there. My family moved to Middle Tennessee, Murfreesboro, when I was about 13 years old, and lived there till I was 30. And tell you a little bit about my background. I graduated high school. I went straight to work in factories. And that wasn't such a bad thing. I was making $1.75 an hour in a grocery store, and I started making $3.50 an hour working in a factory. I doubled my pay. Now, that was good. I thought life was good. Did that for quite some time till I got tired of the constant cycle of being laid off, wait around, find another company to go work for, get laid off again, come back. So I've been through that cycle. So I did something unique. Not so unique in the 1980s, but I don't think you could do it today. And that is I put myself through college. Quit working full-time, worked 2 or 3 part-time jobs. Had a couple of small college loans, nothing major like you see happening nowadays. Graduated 1987 from Middle Tennessee State University with a degree in business administration. First thing I did upon graduation, I married my sweetheart, Carolyn Beasley of Franklin, who's back there. It's now been Carolyn Pullias for 37 years. We have one son, Thomas, who's 35, and we moved. The silly thing I did is I went right back to work in manufacturing. Yeah, but that's what brought us to East Tennessee. In '93, I was hired by the company in Blount County, Schlegel, Tennessee Incorporated. You probably never heard of them. They're not in business anymore. Automotive manufacturer. Started out with them as supervisor, eventually became operations manager over one of the plants they had there. Went from there in 2000, one of my customers approached me, General Motors. I know everybody's heard of General Motors. So went to work for them, and by 2003, I was in global operations for a small division of General Motors, responsible for 15 manufacturing sites around the world. Yes, I commuted from an airport every Monday morning. During this time, my wife and I purchased a piece of Blount County history, the Chilhowie Inn in Walland. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's the oldest operating inn in Blount County. We bought that in 2005 and owned it up to 2017. We did the restoration and remodeling work required. We run it as a bed and breakfast, and we also lived in a portion of it. And that was our business. Now, everybody knows General Motors went into bankruptcy, right? About 2008 or so. Well, when they come out of that, my position no longer existed. Surprise, surprise. So I had to do something. So I started up a consulting company and started working with manufacturing companies around the country. And I don't think the general public realizes what a dire strait manufacturing was in this country at that time, 2008, 2012 time period. Most manufacturers are not big. They're 100, 150 employees. And when your sales drop below your break-even point, it doesn't take an expert in business to know that's not sustainable. And most of these people had no idea how to run a factory, how to run manufacturing operations, and that's what I helped them with. And we saved hundreds and hundreds of jobs, manufacturing jobs across this country. And I say we because I worked with the people in the floor, in the executive boardrooms, et cetera, to turn the plants around. In 2017, we sold the Chilhowie Inn. We moved to Monroe County after all this time in Blount. We started a new business called Gray Mountain Properties that we own long-term rentals now. We have property in Monroe County, we have property in Blount County. We raised our son, I'll say this one thing, I'm proud of my family, but we raised our son in Blount County. He went to Stepping Stones Preschool. He went to, what's the name of the? Fort Craig Elementary, thank you. And then ended up at a Heritage High School is where he finished out. He spent 4 years in the U.S. Army after high school. He's an Army veteran and an Afghan veteran. So if you ever get to meet my son, you can thank him for his service. And I guess that's about all I've got. But thank you, all of you, for being here today and taking an interest in this election. I think an informed voter pool is better than not.
Am I going to be tall enough to stand up here? Can you see me? There's something different about me, obviously. Well, one thing is party. I've got two of my colleagues there are Republicans, and I'm also a girl. So, my name is Patti Young, and I'm running for State Senate in District 2. I'm going to talk just a little bit different. In fact, I have my notes, and then I typically do not use them. But I just want to say that I am running because I think I have to. I had a really bad childhood. I left home at 16. I lived in my car. I felt like I had to always take care of myself. And as I grew, I have felt completely like I need to take care of everybody around me. And I have been happily going along with that until I have seen what has been going on in Nashville. Now, it is not easy to run. It is not fun to run for office, but I have not been happy with the decisions that have been made. Now, a little bit more about myself. I am educated. I was able to get myself to college. I got a BS in art education, and I got a master's in elementary ed. I worked for 34 years as a teacher in Maryville City Schools, and I loved every minute of it. Before that, I drove a bus, and I worked at the Vestal Boys and Girls Club, and typically would take kids home with me on weekends because they even had it worse than I did as a child. When I worked at John Sevier Elementary, I had a student one time that was an unwanted child, born into a family that did not want him. They did a lot of horrible things to him that I won't even go into, and he ended up in the boys' home in Maryville. He was the worst distraction to our classes. He had to have somebody with him. He was so violent going down the hall. He was so distracting of my class that I came up to him first thinking, just please be quiet. And I looked him right in the eye and I said, what can I do for you? You name it. And he looked up at me and said, get me out of the boys' home for children in Blount County. That's where he was living. I had to jump through so many hoops to get that child out. My husband and I took care of him on weekends and tried to show him what love was, what fun was. This is who I am. And when I see some of the decisions that are made, not just for children, but for all of us, it makes me want to run. And I'm going to go ahead and do what they didn't do, and I'm just going to go through them so you can, you can yell at me for some of these issues that I stand on later when you ask questions. But one of them is reproductive rights. I have had so many friends that I've had several friends that have had tubal pregnancies that were able to get to a doctor and have a procedure to save their life. I have one of them that came to me a couple weeks ago and said, please do whatever you can so that we don't have an all-out abortion ban. Because if I had been living in Tennessee right now, I'd be gone. Because they won't do anything to help me. And then there's the problem of what we do with the unwanted children after they're born. So I, like Ken Moore, I stand by that we know nobody wants to kill anything living, not if you're a good person. But I do stand for reproductive choice, and I do stand for IVF, and I do stand for contraception, which I'm afraid they're coming for next. As far as vouchers, I am anti-voucher. I am pro-public school. I worked for 34 years, and what I see what happens in public school is diversity. We have a diverse group in here. We have a diverse group in our counties. We have a diverse group in the school, and we learn to get along. You take everybody out and you put them in charter schools where they're all like one-minded, they're not going to learn to get along. And people need to learn to get along. That's just my feeling. About arming teachers, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that I didn't have to be armed. And they tell me I have 1 minute left, so I just want to end by saying I will do whatever it takes to make the right decisions, and I am here to listen to constituents because I don't feel like our constituents are getting heard. I know that 75% of people are not for an all-out abortion ban, but we have it. And I know that what we have voting in the legislature, we have 14% women in the Senate in Tennessee, 14%. I don't think that's right. And I don't think it's right that there are 6 Democrats and 27 Republicans. I think everybody's voice needs to be heard, and I think there needs to be equal representation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to open up the floor for questions, so the people that didn't get to ask their questions prior. And what we'd like to do this time, because of the time issue, is we appreciate the enthusiasm in the crowd, and we appreciate giving context to your questions. However, because of time, could we, I don't want to damper anybody's speech, enthusiasm, but give context to your questions and get right to your questions, because as you can see, we have more candidates this time. So please feel free to come to the mic. Hold the mic close to you because there's a crowd outside and they're broadcasting it out to those people. So if we're not close to the microphone, those people are not heard. And what we're going to do is we're going to start in alphabetical order, and then we'll go backwards. We'll give them equal chances to be first.
Good afternoon. My name is Jackie. I have a question, and it pertains to the human trafficking of children. I think many of us think that if we don't see it, it's not happening, or it's happening somewhere over there. After researching this topic and learning a lot about it, I've learned that it's everywhere. It's pervasive, and it's hidden, but not really if you want to know about it. So my question to the three of you is this. We've had a lot of questions that focused on the unborn children and their safety and rights. What about the rights of children that already exist but are being trafficked, molested, and murdered? How much do you know about this topic, and is this something that concerns you? Thank you.
With my law enforcement background and working as circuit court clerk for 30 years, I'm also responsible for the juvenile department in the excuse me, in the clerk's office. So we see this every day that comes through our office. That there needs to be stricter and more heavier laws that when people are caught with human trafficking and that, they need to stay in jail instead of getting smacked on the wrist and back out. A lot of the human trafficking is coming from overseas, just like what happens when we're having illegal immigrants coming in and that. A lot of those children are taken from here in the United States and taken overseas and being abused and used and those type of things. We've got to do everything we can in Nashville to make sure that those folks that do that pay for what they do.
Thank you for that question, and I will be honest with you. I am not up to speed on that issue as much as I wish I was. But crimes against children are the worst of any. The penalties need to match because you're attacking the helpless. And I will do everything I can to enforce that.
I'm really not up to it either, but I feel lucky that, I was in a situation probably to be a target when I was young because I didn't have a place to live. I would really like to hear more from you, and because in order to be able to do something, I need to know more. So even afterward, if I can talk to you, that would be great.
Hi, good afternoon, Mike Paulson. I'm actually bringing this question to you from our live audience out there. So we do have some folks online that are listening, hopefully listening attentively. But anyway, hospital financial margins have decreased significantly since pre-pandemic levels. You've got severe overcrowding in emergency rooms, and they're struggling financially, okay? That's part A. Part B is there's a not well-known method of payment or payment method from the federal government called DSH, and it stands for Disproportionate Share Hospital Payments. This is a payment made to hospitals from the federal government that pays for indigent care, okay? Or in some cases, seniors without adequate financial resources and, you know, for copays, et cetera, et cetera. It's a formula, okay? Those went away when Obamacare came in, or they were significantly downsized. So my question to you is, A, is there anything that you have in your book of tricks that can say, hey, we need to do something for the hospitals out there because they're struggling? And B, can we, you know, petition the federal government to say, let's get those dish payments back up where they need to be? Thank you.
Well, I am not a doctor. I got a baby brother that is, so I'll have to ask him on these issues. But at any rate, healthcare is a concern at all levels, and especially we heard earlier where our state ranks. I don't have an answer for this. I'm willing to look at it. I'm willing to listen. There's a lot of issues floating around versus certificate of need in certain counties, other things, but we need to properly fund and make health care available to everyone is all I can say. What that's going to require, I will listen to you and take your input on that.
Well, our legislators have let, with not passing an expansion of Medicaid, have let rural hospitals suffer. Many of them have closed, and so people can't even get the help they need. Plus the fact, if we expanded Medicaid, people would be able to supply money to the hospital. I mean, it's the whole thing is a secular problem that needs to be dealt with, and that is another reason why I'm running.
In Blount County, of course, we have a county-owned hospital, Blount Memorial Hospital, and I know during the COVID process and stuff that Blount Memorial Hospital suffered tremendous losses because of COVID and not getting paid the amount of money that they should. I think that as legislators that we've got to correspond and communicate to our federal representatives that are in this area and meet with our hospitals, our hospital boards and that, and talk to them about what they need from us on a state level where we can help them, and hopefully that we can open up the path that where we can get more payment to the hospital for services. I know in Blount County in the emergency room, one of the problems that they have there is, again, it goes back to illegal immigrants. A lot of people will not go to the clinics and that. They come to the hospital because the emergency room because the hospital has to give them service. They cannot turn them away, and then they don't pay anything. To where you and I go, of course, if you have insurance, we go there and it gets a portion of that payment, and then we have to pay the rest. So that is a big burden on our hospitals right now.
Hello, everybody. My name is, can you hear me okay? My name is Tyler B. Rafferty. I've lived in Monroe County my whole life, lifelong East Tennessean. I live in Kahiti. My mom, do what? Oh, I'm 18. I just turned 18 yesterday. And I'm registered to vote, by the way. So any questions? Anyway, I'm a lifelong resident of East Tennessee, lifelong resident of Monroe County. My mom is Jennifer Rafferty. She is at Rafferty Travel Group. She has her own business, doing very well. Anyway, my question, this question doesn't really get asked about a lot, I don't think, but I've asked it to our outgoing Senator Art Swan. I've asked it to Monroe County Mayor Mitch Ingram. I've asked it to our county commissioners. But I'm going to ask it here for our new Senate candidates because District 2 is a huge district. I mean, it goes from Bradley County, which is greater Chattanooga, all the way to Blount County, to the edges of Blount County of Alcoa, which is greater Knoxville. That's two major cities basically right smack dab in the middle of East Tennessee. So my question is, we're seeing a lot of this urban sprawl, a lot of this growth and development coming to Blount County and Bradley County specifically, but it's kind of closing in kind of on Monroe County, and surely it will in the next, I'd say, 30 years or so. So for us in the meantime, Tennessee really relies on agriculture. We have a lot of farmers here, specifically more in West and Middle Tennessee, but East Tennessee is very well known for farmers, very well known for agriculture. Actually, over a quarter of Tennessee land is farmland. But we all know Tennessee is growing at an incredible pace. We are projected, according to University of Tennessee, will hit about 7.5 million people by 2030. Unfortunately, so far we've lost over 1.5 million acres to development of farmland. We've lost over 1.5 million acres of farmland to development. That's about 6 Tennessee counties worth of pasture, forestry, farmland gone. And there's a lot, I know a lot of farmers. I'm not a farmer personally. I know a lot of farmers. I have a lot of friends whose families are farmers, and farming impacts us all. No farms, no food. Am I right? But here's the worst part. We're on track to lose 2 million acres by 2027. There has been a bipartisan effort in the Tennessee Senate by both Democrats and Republicans to protect Tennessee farms. It was stalled in committee. It was calendared. It wasn't debated. So basically my question, I know that was, I rambled on. I always do. If you know me, I talk a lot. How can we encourage development and growth? And John, I know that you were in manufacturing and stuff, so this impacts jobs and whatnot. How can we encourage development and growth in District 2 while protecting Tennessee agriculture and Tennessee farms for the next generation? Thank you.
Wow. All right, can you hear me? So my husband and I are small business owners. We own Young Mountain Farm, which is a 23-acre farm in Blount County near Walland. We talk about this on a daily basis. We are fully aware of how bad it is because in Blount County, where we used to live, there were so many green spaces. And, we're not just talking about losing food. We're talking about green spaces. We're talking about our climate. We're talking about our health. It's a big issue, and I do not know why, again, our legislators in Nashville aren't doing anything, which is just another reason why I'm running, because what is happening in Blount County is we have these out-of-state contractors that are being hired to come in. They're building these houses that are like literally a few feet apart, and it's happening everywhere. Now, a lot of this is a local issue and not such a senatorial issue, but as far as mandating what you said was shelved, yes, it needs to be. It's a huge problem, and then we could talk about traffic, couldn't we? Maybe not out here, but what is happening in Maryville is awful. And I just want to say one more thing. As a teacher, as we're exploding, our schools can't handle it, our hospital can't handle it, and our highways can't handle it. I totally agree with you. It needs work, and I really hope that I am on the forefront of that if I get elected.
Well, I grew up on a farm, was raised on a farm, put up hay, hoed tobacco, and the whole 9 yards growing up. I'm a big proponent of saving our farmland. Blount County, as she has said, has grown tremendously. When I ran in 1994, we had 89,000 people, and we're right at 140,000 people. Most of what you're talking about is a local issue and has to come through your local government and that through the county commission, what they do. But there are some things in Nashville that that we can do to hand out new laws and mandates on how much square footage it takes to build a house, whether it's a half acre or acre. So I think if we expand on that some, hopefully then it'll save some of the farmland and that. Most of the farmland in Blount County, what has happened is the parents and grandparents have moved on, and then their kids have gotten the land and stuff, and they have their own families and own jobs and that now, and they don't want to farm, so what they do is sell it to make money on it and help their families out. So, you know, and I understand that part of it, but we got to try to help preserve it in any way we can, and I am a big proponent against getting rid of our farmland.
I think, testing 1, 2, 3, there we go. I think we're all in agreement on this issue. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody has an absolute magic wand that can say, here's the solution. But we're all aware of it. We all know it's a problem. We have been discovered. Tennessee is a great place to live, work, raise a family, and that's what's drawing people. But if we do not address these issues, if we do not get out in front of them, we are going to destroy the very environment that's attracted people here. And so, yes, I'm aware of it, and I'm willing to work with anybody that has great ideas on what we can do to solve it.
So, and I'm not trying to like stay up here for too long. I know other people want to answer questions. Just a yes or no across the board. Just yes, simple yes or no. This bill in the Senate has been, you know, they're talking about. I think one of the things it like puts like 15-year moratoriums or something on farmland, or something like that. I'm not sure about that. But if an agriculture preservation bill comes to the table, would you support it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Bill Russell. I'm from Polk County. I know a couple of you candidates very well, and I'm pleased to be here, and I'm pleased that you're here today. I have a very much more generalized question. I grew up in a time when the 10 Commandments were in our schools, in public schools, and I now find myself in a time when the German Romeike family, who immigrated to the United States 15 years ago from Germany because they weren't allowed in Germany to give their children a Christian homeschooling. The German government was threatening them, and they moved here as refugees, persecuted Christian refugees. And they're one of many examples recently. Of course, we haven't had the 10 Commandments in schools for decades, but we also find ourselves today in a time when some federal government policies appear to be anti-Christian. So my question is a simple one. Do you view Tennessee as a Christian state? Do you view Senatorial District 2 as a Christian district? And do you view the United States as a Christian country? We certainly have a good background of heavyweight politicians, including Barack Obama, who've declared unilaterally and without any exclusion that the United States is not a Christian country. They haven't told us, are we a Muslim country or a Jewish country or a secular country? But what I see all around us, at least in Washington, D.C., is a country that is tearing itself apart, whether it's the Jews and the Muslims fighting over the Gaza war, or whether we're allowed to take our chaplains out of the military or need to keep them in there. So just in general context, do you view issues from a moral code based on Christianity, or do you view issues on some sort of a secular or universalist or completely atheist moral code? Thank you.
I'm supposed to start this. Thank you, Bill, for that question. Yes, I am a Christian. That is, as the other candidates were up here earlier saying, that's number one. And I view everything through a Judeo-Christian perspective. My wife and I are members of the Maryville Church of Christ, have been since we've been in Blount County. As a matter of fact, one of my uncles used to be the preacher there back in the 60s and 70s, Ed Hedrick. So I make no bones about that. That's what I pursue everything on from a standpoint of being a Christian?
I think my job is to serve every human being, whether they are Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Black, LGBTQ, every single one, because I was raised by two parents, Southern Baptist and a Jewish mother, who taught me that everybody is God's children, and my job is to make sure that not just one religion is heralded, but everybody is equal.
Well, I too am a Christian and have been a Christian for most of my life. I believe in God's Word, and my life is guided by what God's Word is. We at my office, we put the 10 Commandments out 3 months out of the year. We rotate them in Blount County. So, yes, we're all about that. In December of last year, almost a year now, we started a Bible study at my office on Tuesday mornings beforehand, before we go to work and that, and I was approached that I couldn't do that, and we have passed through that. I believe that Monroe County and Polk County and Blount County and Bradley County are Christian counties, and they believe in what the Bible says. To the majority, I've been campaigning since last September and spent a lot of time in Monroe and Polk counties, and I believe the people here do believe in the Christian values.
Thank you very much.
My turn.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Stevenson. I live over in Toqua Coves and over in Tellico. 2 questions. First one has to do with fentanyl. Now, I don't know if everybody knows this, but fentanyl is the #1 killer of our kids from age 18 to 45. It's huge. It's a huge killer. We lose almost twice the number of people we lost in Vietnam in 1 year here in America due to fentanyl. That's a huge issue. And we know it comes out of China. I'm a chemist and a biologist. I know where the fentanyl comes from. It comes out of China, into Mexico primarily, across the open border, and now it's coming into Tennessee. So the first question is, what are y'all going to do about that, or try to do to affect that problem? The other one has to do with the selling of businesses and property to China, communist China. Because that's a big issue here in Tennessee. They're coming in, they're buying up the properties, be it Oak Ridge or wherever they are, they're establishing an influence of themselves here in our country. And I'm a VFW member. I fought for this country. Agent Orange exposed and all that. I've got briefings from the Pentagon. I had top secret SAP SCI clearances. China is our #1 threat in the world. And we need to understand that, and we need to react accordingly. So those are my 2 questions. Thank you.
Well, the fentanyl question is, when I was running a narcotics unit back then, we had LSD and cocaine was our major concerns back in those days. One of the things we've got to do to control that is close our borders. That is where it's coming from. The cartel is in control of our borders and shipping fentanyl here through the illegal immigrants, the kids that's coming over, they're sending it over here. We've got to be more strict on our laws and put those folks that's shipping that stuff over here when we catch them, and the people that is selling it, we've got to keep them in jail. That's from the state level. That's basically what we can do to help out, is make our laws more strict. We've got to support our local and state law enforcement agencies and give them the resources that they have. Being in law enforcement and working with them every day, our law enforcement people need resources that they do not have to be able to fight these things. So that is one of the things that I will be looking at when I go to Nashville, is serving in the judicial section of the Senate, and hopefully that we can pass some laws that will help them.
Who gets it next? Me? Okay. Yes, I think we all understand the need to have the border closed. Mexico is very quickly becoming a failed state. And let me tell you, I used to have 3 facilities in Juarez, 3 facilities in Matamoros. I drove back and forth across that border back in the early part of this century, and there was no issues like we have now. I would be scared to do that anymore. That needs to be taken care of. I agree with what Tom's saying. The penalties for dealing in this stuff need to be strict. They need to be enforced. But also, one of the things I don't hear anybody talk about is we need to cut off the demand. You know, as long as somebody's willing to pay a price for something, someone's going to see they got access to it. So we got to figure out, where is this stuff going, who's buying it, and how do we cut off that demand for it. Now, to the Chinese-owned businesses or property question, I agree with you there. I don't know what it is we need to do, but selling our property to a foreign entity that does not have our best interest at heart, we got to put a stop to.
About that, I don't think anybody could say it better than he just said it, as far as you know, selling property to, you know, people that don't have an interest, especially China. About the fentanyl, I agree also with Tom, but I also think that we need a better education of our kids, because there are so many YouTube channels out there about parents that have lost their kids to fentanyl. I mean, there's so many thousands and thousands of grieving parents who didn't know and weren't aware. I just think there just needs to be more education in our schools and our churches, so that kids are aware of how bad it is, because evidently one time and you can die. It's really, really a terrible problem.
You know, it's 50 times more powerful than heroin and 100 times more powerful than morphine, according to the DEA.
It is a serious problem, and I really appreciate you bringing that up.
LSD and crack and all that.
I mean, some of this is federal, but, you know, it's like Tom said, you know, we have to do whatever we have to do here to keep it out. But it also needs, our people need, we need to be educated, parents and kids.
Okay, next question, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Gary Bush. I lived here. I've been living here 2.5 years, but I've been in Tennessee for 13 years now. I'm originally from Western New York. I'm a conservative. Yeah, I wasn't born with an RD on my head. None of us were. And I believe we've become a country that basically people are being told they have to belong to a party and follow a party way, instead of using their brains and basically make intelligent decisions. So my question is going to turn the table just a little bit. I've heard a lot about the border. I've heard a lot about illegals. Illegals here, the illegal immigration and stuff like that. You want to call them immigrants, you want to call whatever name is. The reality is, do any of you know what the U.S. policy is of how many immigrants, legal immigrants, we allow in the country per year?
I do not know that.
Maybe you should study it. 1.2 million. Okay, that's legal. That's more than the rest of the world allows into their countries legally. We allow 1.2 million. We've allowed 14 million people to get away, or allowed them to come in this country without legally going through that process. The government's response is spend more money on basically not addressing the problem. Spend more money basically every place. It's now costing, I think, Tennessee in the millions, and it's flooding us. When we look at the population, I'm a Christian, and I believe our responsibility is to take care of people. First, we're not taking care of the kids. They're being trafficked across the border. So I hear all this BS. Where's the money coming from? Are you for or against funding NGOs and also 501c3 organizations, if you get in, will you vote for any money go to any of those organizations going forward? Because we have to stop the NGOs and the 501c3s, because that is money laundering and it's actually paying for all this. So I want to know, yes or no, are you for funding and continuing to fund, or put a stop to the 501c3s and all the NGO money?
I really appreciate your question, because I actually would like to talk to you more about it. I'm against continuing it, and I think that the problem, I mean, it's twofold, and a lot of this again is a federal issue. But as far as letting everybody come in, I'm against it. You are so much more well versed on this than I am.
It's not just the federal level. The money comes from the federal government down to the states, down to the local level, and everybody gets that money and they say it's free money. Okay, and they use it.
Right.
And it comes with all the
So
stipulations.
what you're saying is,
affecting
are
our
we
schools,
stopping the
it's affecting
funding
everything.
for those people that are getting the free money?
I'm saying at the state level, stop it too,
Okay.
because it's
All right.
happening at the
Okay,
state
So
level.
For the sake of time,
I just want to say one thing, though,
To me,
because
yes
it's
or
a
no
double-edged
answer.
sword. Because when I was listening before to Ken Moore, we have to be very careful that we do not let people starve. I mean, we have to have Christian values. I agree with you
That comes
the
back
money.
to choice. That comes back to choice. All of us have a choice to do right or to do wrong with our lives. And as
Exactly.
a Christian Judeo, basically everybody believes the same thing. So my
True.
point is, I grew up in a family of 10. We didn't have 2 plug nickels to put together, but we put ourselves through private school. That was the way allowed. There's people right now trying to have people, or children, or there was this just on today, have their children actually go into their job and learn what they're doing. And Chick-fil-A is doing this, and they wanted kids to come in. And guess what? People are against it. Oh, you're going to make them work? Well, it didn't kill any of us. So
Okay.
the bottom line is, my question is simple. Would you, if money's flowing through these organizations from the government, why is the government picking winners or losers? That is not constitutionally right. Stop the money flow. You want to fix fentanyl? You want to fix a lot of this? You have to stop the money flow from the government, period.
That was a beautiful argument, and I believe I agree with you 100%.
let's go to Tom.
I agree with you 100% that we've got to stop the money flow. If you look wherever anything illegal is going on and stuff, it's all about the money. And if we don't stop it, we're never going to get anywhere.
Yes, I'm agreeing as well with the money flow, but I'll give you another perspective on things a little bit. We all want a good social safety net. We've talked about that. We've talked about hospital health care, taking care of our kids, etc. Well, you know what? Whenever I traveled to a foreign country as a business person working, they'd look at my passport, they'd ask me why I was here, and then I'd get a big stamp put on it that said ineligible for social services. You know, if I got sick or anything, I was going to have to pay for it. I did not tap into their social network. And that's one of the ways they controlled costs. They controlled who came in, how many came in, and they could provide a good social safety net to their citizens.
All right, we have time now for one very succinct question and 3 very succinct answers, and then we'll close with closing remarks from Chet. Susan,
Right.
we'd love to hear your very succinct question.
I'll try. I'm Susan Gingrich. I'm a recovering bureaucrat from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I've been here almost 9 years. Love the people, not so crazy about the politics. When I have looked at the way laws are made in Tennessee, to me, it looks like they're often very loosey-goosey so that no one can be held accountable for anything. Example, we worked to get a nepotism preclusion in Loudoun County. We tried and we tried and we tried. And when something finally was done, what it said was that it would be up to the county whether or not they implemented such a policy. So I would like to know if you're elected, and I'm sorry, I can't vote for you because I have another senator, lieutenant governor or whatever. What are you going to do to make government in Nashville more accountable to the taxpayers? Thank you.
I can only speak to that from a personal standpoint, so I'll address it that way. What I personally will do is, number one, based on the fact of my Christian faith, I know there's another judge I have to answer to one day. It's not what happens on this earth. It's how I do right by the people I serve, the people I work with. Second thing is, I'm trying to look at your face and see you, that's fine, because I want to answer your question, and if I don't answer it fully, you talk to me afterwards. All right?
Sure.
But the second part being, I lost my train of thought. But anyway, we all answer to a higher authority at some point, and I fully believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, though, the other part being is I am in this campaign full time right now. This is my only job, is running for office. If I become your senator, your state senator, I will be your state senator full time. That's all I'll do. I don't need money from anybody else. The good Lord's blessed us. We're able to make it with with the investments and other things we've done over the years, and I'm comfortable. I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable.
Patti?
I think the single most important thing to do about issues like this is look at the people in front of you and don't think about a Republican and don't think about a Democrat, but try to see what's happening right now in Nashville. And if it's not working, like you say, it's maybe not, maybe it's time for a change. Be careful who you vote for. That's what I have to say.
Thank you for your answers, and thank you for being willing to run, because I ran for Loudoun County Commission, and I didn't win, and I'm very glad that I didn't.
Tom, would you like to?
Yes. Well, I think the biggest thing is communication between your senator and the people that they represent. One of the things, when I got elected in 94, my dad, instead of congratulating me and that on winning, he came up to me and he told me, he said, "Son, don't forget where you come from." And I think that's what happens when people go to Nashville. They forget where they come from, and they forget who they represent. And it's the people in this district, in District 2, is who I'm going to answer to, and who I will be willing to sit down and communicate with. We're going to have some town halls if I'm elected in the counties. We're going to come and we're going to listen to what your concerns are, and we're going to do the best job we can for you.
All right, that will wrap up our forum. I'd like to thank Ms. Sumi and Mr. Winters for taking interest in our forum. Before we conclude, you'll be able to meet these folks outside to carry on any conversations or ask any questions that you didn't get in. And we'd like to thank them with a little round of applause. And then we'll conclude with words from Mr. Pillsbury, Chet, our CEO. Thank you.
I really only wanted to remind everyone that these particular forums are deliberate. They're not accidental. We at the POA want to give all of our homeowners access to all the information. And so as these are brought forward, and there'll be more throughout the year, that is the intent. It is to inform you. It is not for you to tell you what we think you should think. It's simply to give you the information so you can make an informed decision without having to go all over God's green earth to get it. And so by bringing them here and having this kind of forum, it offers you the opportunity to hear for yourself and ask your own personal questions to make those decisions. It is important to me personally, and I believe it's important to the POA itself, that all of us are informed and know why we make the decisions we make. Thank you for coming, sincerely. Appreciate it.